talk about auditioning. There's actually quite a bit of information to cover on auditioning, so we'll be breaking it up into two parts. Let's start with commercials. Nice work if you can get it. To be honest, I used to poo-poo commercials. I was the girl who was like, why would anyone want to choose that as a career? When you think about acting, I think we're all sort of lulled and captivated by the idea of red carpets and big movie premieres. But the fact of the matter is that commercial work can be really lucrative. And it's also a lot of fun. The thing about commercials is, most of them film over the course of a day. We're talking 8 to 10 hours maybe of your time. After that, you get paid every time that commercial airs. So who knows, you might get lucky, like I have on a number of occasions, and have a commercial that airs up to 2 to 3 years over a number of different cycles with upticks on how much you make each time the cycle re-airs. And for me, it's been the reason why I haven't had to have a side job to keep me afloat. Just to give you an idea of how lucrative and awesome a commercial can really be. Many years ago, probably going on 10 or 12 at this point, I booked a deodorant commercial. This commercial consisted of a number of little vignettes. My particular vignette, I'm dancing in a club with this hot guy, and I try to sniff under my arm really quick while he's not looking. Now, I love to dance, and it was a lot of fun. And I think the sum total of time that I spent filming the commercial probably equates to about 4 hours. Little did I know just how much they would play that commercial. Not only did it air initially probably straight for a whole year, they then picked it up and took my little segment and added it to another commercial and picked it up for another time. Then when they stopped airing it, they had to decide whether they're going to still hold me. And the hold means that I wouldn't be able to do any other deodorant commercial for a different company. And they did for a period of time. And so they have to pay me for that entire time that they're holding me. Once they decided to re-air the commercial again for a third or fourth time, I was so established as a commercial actor at that point that we were able to renegotiate for more money. I think this commercial aired upwards of, 6 years off or on. I can't even really tell you how much I make, but if I had to estimate the total of money I made on 4 hours of work that was really fun, doing something, two things that I really love, dancing and acting, I'd say anywhere from $60,000 to $70,000. So this is why it's important to invest the time in not only learning about commercials, but also finding yourself a really great commercial agent who's going to get you out there. It'll keep you from having to get a side waitressing job or a side job in an office, which again, nothing wrong with that. Getting work and making sure you have money coming in so that you can do what you love is important. But if you can do what you love while you're doing what you love and make money doing what you love, that's a win-win-win. So how do you go about getting an audition? Well, hopefully by now you have found an amazing commercial agent who is really excited to work with you and with whom you are also really excited to work with. Most of the time, what will happen is that they'll submit you for any number of commercials that are available for the day, and you will get an email or a call telling you that you have an audition at such and such a time, at such and such a place. Pretty simple. In the rare occasion that you are interested in looking for stuff on your own, or you maybe haven't yet found a commercial agent, there are some websites that allow you to submit yourself. And though it's somewhat frowned upon, there is the occasional person who does try to crash an audition. Now, if you do plan to be the crasher, I'd say tread lightly. Make sure that you're showing up to an audition that you know about, that you fit the role for. For instance, you have a friend who told you he or she is going, and you guys are similar types. Go in and make sure you talk to the person who is running the audition so they know that you weren't on the list originally, and they'll let you know if they can fit you in. And if they say no, just politely leave. So, preparing for a commercial audition is really different than preparing for a TV show. Often you're not given a script with lots of lines or anything to prepare. It's a lot about reacting to something that's going on in the scene, or holding the product and selling it. So you'll get a description of what it is that you're auditioning for. It'll be very clear about what you should wear for wardrobe and what kind of character you're going out for. For instance, the fast food company has probably had a number of commercials air throughout the decades, so you should already have a sense of what this fast food company likes to sell and how they sell their product. You'll know whether you're playing a young mom or the neighbor next door, and you want to think about what you need to wear that corresponds with that character, that will make you look like that character when you walk through the door. Always make sure that you have certain staples in your wardrobe for commercials. Frankly, for any audition. You know that you're going to want to have a nice little sweater set if you're going to be playing a teacher. You need a nice pair of jeans, some khakis, the occasional pair of shorts, the business attire, anywhere from business casual to more edgy, higher professional CEO type suits. You just want to have your bases covered because you just never know what they're going to ask for. Once you kind of have that taken care of, make sure you know where you're going. Make sure you've plotted out what time to get there, and please get there on time. Auditions in general, they're moving really quickly, and they're trying to get through often a lot of people, especially if it's the first audition. So the earlier you are, and I'm a big fan of getting there early. There's that saying that if you're there on time, you're already late. Once you arrive at the office, sign in. There's always a sign-in sheet at a table, and there are always a number of instructions depending on what the commercial calls for. Sometimes, if there is a script, hopefully they've given it to you the day you got your audition call. And if they haven't given it to you then, they've posted it on the board. Take a look at it, read it, understand it, make sure that if you have any questions, you're prepared to ask them once you're in the room. Often they ask you for your SAG card or social security number. Now, hopefully at this point you're already a SAG member. If you're not, you can put your social security in there. Some people don't. You can feel free to skip that. The most important thing to remember is to sign in with the time that you arrived and to sign out at the time you leave. The reason why is that for certain auditions, if you're kept there long, you get paid. Woohoo! They pay you for your time. This is only if they're going really late, especially on the first audition. If they go, I believe it's over 2 hours if you're waiting to be seen, you will get paid for your time there. And then for the second audition, I think after an hour. This only applies to union commercials. If you're auditioning for something non-union, you will not get paid. They can keep you as long as they need you to be there, or as long as you're willing to stay to be seen. Again, if it's a reputable place, they're doing their best to move in a timely fashion. So you've signed in, you've read the board. Sometimes there are non-disclosure agreements they want you to sign depending on the company that you're working for and the product that they're trying to sell. Sometimes they don't want you to talk about it or post it on social media. I have heard of actors who have lost their jobs because they were so excited about a certain commercial and booking it, they posted it before they even filmed it, and it didn't go too well. So make sure that if you're signing an NDA, you honor that NDA. And for the most part, really, there's no reason to post about a commercial until you've actually done it, because there's a chance that it might not air. But we'll get to that later, too. Another difference to note about commercials versus, say, a TV or film audition is that they tend to be a little more casual. The general environment, everyone's a little more upbeat, there isn't a lot of stress. It's about showing up, selling the product, doing the work, and it tends to be a little bit more fun. And because of that, you'll run into actors you haven't seen in a long time, and you'll want to chit chat and catch up and see what everybody's been doing, and that's great. At the same time, you want to keep in mind that you're there to work, and some actors are really trying to stay focused. So while it's good to sort of hang out with your friends and catch up, it's also really important to stay focused and be respectful of the other actors who are there to do a job. Now, they're about to call your name and it's your turn to go in the room. You want to walk in like the person who's about to open their mouths to say the lines that fit this character. So know that, whatever business, whatever stuff you left at home, you had a bad day, the traffic was horrible, you forgot something, or even really good stuff, whatever's going on in your personal life, let all of that go and be prepared to walk in the room as the character they want to see, as much as you can. So you're going to walk in, say hello, no shaking hands. Hollywood's not big on shaking hands, unless the director or someone comes up to you and offers a hand. Refrain from doing that, germs and things like that. So for a commercial that might have some dialogue and some action that you might need to do, whether it's on your own or with another actor in the room, they will often do a group explanation first, just so everybody can be on the same page at the same time. One of the biggest mistakes I see actors do is walk into the room for the group explanation and not really pay attention. And so here the person behind the camera has to give the explanation all over again, and that just is not a good start. So make sure that in these cases you've read that script if it's outside, and once they've called everyone in, make sure you have a nice spot so you can see what's going on and really pay attention, because there'll be some key things you'll need to do. There's a certain time they want you to pick up the cup or take a bite of the hamburger or, smile. So just know and be prepared for that moment. So now you're called in the room and you've walked into the room with confidence. You've walked into the room like the person who wants to book this commercial and who is the character that they want to sell this product. You're ready to go. They will have you stand on they usually have a line set up where you can stand, whether it's, again, just you or however many other actors are in the scene. And they will start by taking a picture, and they'll go down the line if there are more than one of you and take your picture. And some of just my little tips for taking a picture is make sure your chin is down. We often do things like this and you get a lot of whatever. Chin down, and right before they say ready, just take a nice little deep breath in, because what that does is that it opens your eyes and it makes you look open and bright and happy. And again, most commercials are happy commercials. You're selling a product, and so you want to represent that in the room. They'll take your pictures, and then they're going to have you slate your name. Again, this is another spot where people surprisingly fail. There's no other way to put it. Your headshot is your calling card. Now, your slate is yet another piece of that puzzle where they get to see you and you're representing yourself. You're saying your name. Make sure you say it with a little conviction or a little fun. Depending on what they need for the commercial, they may ask you to lift your hands and show both sides of your hands. They want to make sure you don't have any cuts or scrapes, your hands look good. Women, I tend to keep my nails as natural as I can, especially during busy seasons, because often if you book a commercial, either they'll tell you what they want you to do with your nails or they'll want them natural, especially if you're going to be holding a product. They don't want some flashy, crazy, bespeckled, whatever. So keep your hands nice and clean. Gentlemen, they will ask you if you happen to have a beard, if you're willing to shave. And then beyond that, if you have glasses, they may also have you take your glasses off to remove any glare. And occasionally they'll have you do a 360 where they want to see you from various sides. So you'll do profiles, sometimes you'll turn, and that is your slate. Now it's time to do the audition. Hopefully you've paid attention to all the direction, you know what is being asked of you as far as the product is concerned, and you have a sense of the tone and energy of what they're hoping to get out of this commercial when they actually film it. One thing that's really important to note, I mentioned earlier that commercial auditions tend to be a little more casual and commercials in general tend to be a little more upbeat. I think somewhere where actors sometimes maybe misstep in their auditions for commercials is that the commercials exist to sort of solve a problem. You have a product that's there that's to solve an everyday problem that you have. Bad breath, pain from muscle aches. And your job as the actor is to turn that negative thing, that thing that's not working, into the thing that is working. So sometimes you'll get script that is written sort of in a negative tone. And it's your job to turn it, to not fall into what my commercial teacher used to say is the pitfall that actors miss. It's the negative script that they continue to perform negatively when in fact it's your job to uplift it, to find the thing that makes it great. Dirty mouth, clean it. That's a perfect example. Be aware of those pitfalls, whether you have lines or not. Sometimes the pitfall is in the reaction. You smell something stinky, and it's your job to sort of, know that this product is going to be the thing that fixes it. And how are you going to make that turn to make sure that whatever that stinky problem was is now lemony fresh? So you do the commercial. Often there'll be an end slate afterwards. You're going to be asked to say your name once again. and you want to say it as lovely, quirky, fun, as exciting and interesting and with confidence as you said it the first time around, because now this is the culmination of all the work, and you're still giving them your positive vibes, you're still giving them the I'm the girl or I'm the guy for this commercial, and you'll say thank you and leave. If anything went wrong, if something didn't, quite land the way you wanted, don't apologize. No one's, you're not getting in trouble. This isn't some thing you've done badly. And you're not performing in front of a live audience. That's the brilliant thing about it, is that if something goes wrong, the person behind the camera will just have you do it again. And they won't include that particular take with what they send on, because they only want to send the best. So most likely you'll go home and hopefully all has gone well. And guess what? You got a call back. Good job. You did exactly what you were supposed to do in the room. You were focused, you had energy, you were exciting, you were quirky, you were interesting. You brought your unique talents to selling that product, and now they want to see more. Now they actually, want to put you in the room with the players who make everything happen. For the most part, everything should remain the same. When I first started out, I used to keep little note cards of the different outfits that I wore to each audition, just to sort of keep track, because it's nice to sort of keep things the same. Who knows what it was that made you extra attractive to them? Your acting obviously did it, but what you wear also plays a big role in how you present yourself. So try to wear the same thing. Luckily, most of the time you'll hear within a day or two whether you're getting a call back, so keeping your outfit nice and neat shouldn't be too difficult. Now the pool has gotten smaller. You've gone from however many, 50, 60, however many people they saw, to hopefully now anywhere from 10 to 20, which is great because you're amongst those. Make sure you read the board. Sometimes things change in a callback. All of a sudden they had a new concept they want to try, or they've even completely wholly changed who's being what. Maybe the guy was the one with the issue and the girl was solving it, and now they've switched it so the girl is saying the thing that's the problem. So just make sure you read and know what's going on. If there's a group explanation, they'll bring you back in and you'll hear the explanation. And now this time, you're not just dealing with the person behind the camera, you're in the room with the director and the ad agency, and these are the people who are making the decisions. These are the people who are going to decide if you're right to sell their product. It's even more important that you walk in the room this time with confidence and a little character. It's all about character. The director may have you do it a number of different times. You're going to do all the same things. You're going to slate, you may show your hands. Most of that will stay the same. And they'll just have you run it a couple times, and they'll throw new things at you. And this is where improv comes in handy. Hopefully you've been taking your classes. Hopefully you have all those little tricks in your little arsenal that you can pull out and use, because they will. They'll switch it up on you, and all of a sudden you're saying lines that weren't there. The last commercial I just did, actually, with a good friend of mine of 20 years. I bumped into him at the original audition, and we had a nice sort of meet up again because it had been a couple years. And then turns out we were in the room together for our callback, and then we booked the commercial, which was great. And part of being in the room is that we had to play with each other, and the director just threw stuff at us out of nowhere. And knowing him for 20 years, I knew that he had the skills needed to make it happen, and he knew that I had the skills that were needed to make it happen, and that we were going to support each other, and it was really great. So have those improv skills and be ready to have anything thrown at you. So it's the callback, and you've been brought back, and this particular commercial requires you to be paired up with another actor. Sometimes you might be paired up with multiple actors, especially in the case of a commercial that is trying to put together a family. They're looking for people who look like they could actually be family. And that could be anything from like a biracial couple and making sure the biracial child looks like that they belong to that mom or dad, or Asian couple, whatever they decide is the right look for them. You might have to work in the room with other people. I actually had a situation where I booked a commercial, and then they booked the other roles, the dad and the child role, and all of a sudden I was the odd one out. I was the one that didn't quite fit in. So I went from very happy actor who booked a commercial to rather unhappy actor really upset at all the money she was about to lose because they had to replace me. And that's just something you have to get used to in this business. Sometimes it looks like it's going your way, and then something changes that has nothing to do with you. I didn't do anything wrong. And those are the breaks. But in any case, when you go into a room with multiple people, just know that you're still doing your individual audition. Okay? You still have to show up and do what you need to do, regardless of whether the other actor flubs the line, didn't pay attention to the directions, which happens sometimes, or just, they're having an off day. They're dropping cues, they're not picking up the pace, they aren't very funny. It's still your job to be present for them, but most importantly, to be there for yourself, because they won't necessarily book you all together. Sometimes they put the effort, especially at a callback, to call people together because they think they'll be a good match. But every once in a while, you'll still, find that, oh, I booked this, but I read with someone else and some other dude booked it with me. So be open to that too. As a little bonus for you, I sat down with a commercial director to get a little more information about what they're looking for in the commercial casting process. My guest today is director Raul Fernandez.
Hello,
How are
hello.
you today?
I'm great.
Good, thank you for joining us.
Of course.
Tell me a little bit about yourself, some of the work you've done as a commercial director.
Sure. So I've been officially commercial directing for almost 10 years. I kind of came out to LA to go to USC for a master's, and started as a cinematographer, so I was working as a DP a lot, and then slowly realized that I kind of wanted to be more in control of the product, and I kept shooting stuff that I was just like, this could be better. I wish I could help make it better. And yeah, just been fortunate enough to work pretty steadily, pretty much back to back, luckily, over the last few years. I've done work for everybody between, McDonald's, Amazon, Boost Mobile is one of my bigger clients. Yeah, I mean, you name it. All the supermarkets, I did stuff for them, which was really fun. Reels channel. I did actually commercials for a funeral home once that you'd think would be lame, but it was actually just comedy, and it was really fun, and they let us do whatever we wanted, which is amazing. Almost all my work is comedy based, nice. So it's about having fun and about keeping the energy at a place where everyone sees where it's going and is, hopefully laughing along the way.
Yes. Specifically when it comes to casting commercials, how involved are you as the director, given that there are obviously many different people involved
yeah.
and people you have to sort of speak to and answer for?
Yeah, for better for worse, there's a lot of people involved in choosing an actor for the commercial. So a lot of my job is translating. The agency will give me casting specs or a casting brief. And we'll have a conversation about it. And also, obviously, at that point, I've already submitted a treatment as well, so I've kind of given my point of view of what that should look like. And then I work with my own casting director, so I get to choose my casting director. I get to brief him, tell him what I'm looking for. He knows my style, which is very helpful. So I'm personally very involved in the casting, so I'll have him send me just headshots first. And then I kind of choose this look versus that look, or this style versus that style. And then he'll do his 1 or 2 days, usually typically casting by himself, unsupervised. So he runs it independently, and I get those tapes, and the agency also gets those tapes, and we choose our selects for callbacks from there. And I like to purposefully not kind of make that too much of a conversation with the agency and let them choose their favorites, and I'll choose my favorites, just to hopefully get surprised by each other's choices and kind of, oh, you were thinking that? Well, that's interesting. Cool, I never thought about it that way. And some directors don't, but I run the entire callback, so I'll talk to every actor as they come in, brief them a bit on the project, and just get a sense. I like to do that to get a sense of their vibe, the way we just talk with each other and see how they interact, how they are just as people. So much of it is just like someone who you'd want to spend the next day with, or whatever it is. So yeah, I think it's even no matter how tired you are, or how long your day's been, or how far you drove, or how long you were waiting in the lobby, it's like, coming in. I sometimes call it like, now it's less of a good thing, but do the Kramer from Seinfeld, just like busting in the room, right? So Kramer up the room and make everyone fall in love with you first, and then obviously be able to bring in the goods for the acting as well.
Nice. Oh, I like that you said that, because I think sometimes actors, I know as an actor myself, I forget. Like I get that call for that 5 p.m. audition last minute, and I'm like, really? I have to drive to Santa Monica, and you come in with all your stuff, and you forget, because I think we see you guys as the gatekeepers, right? You're the ones who are going to hire us for this project. We forget that you also have a process that you have to go through, and that you're also sitting there for many hours having to make decisions. And so it's a good reminder, I think, for our audience that we help infuse the energy. And if we come in there, that room, and that our personalities alone can help dictate whether we...
100%. I mean, there's so many times where we'll cast somebody because everyone's just like, they're just so likable. You know, just like, that person's just so likable. We'll figure it out. Or like, there's times where a role will change because it's like, we love that person so much, we should make it younger, or we should make it older, whatever it is to fit that. Like, just being likable is so huge, because it's someone, again, it's, you know, far and away, commercial acting is like, the client wants someone who the viewer will fall in love with, or whatever it is, and immediately have those feelings towards the brand, right? For better or for worse.
Right.
I try to connect with the actors as much as I can quickly by looking at the resume or whatever it is and seeing what we have in common. And even if it means somehow finding out something about the director before you show up, maybe, and without being creepy, because I've had people that like will email me. I have people that like email me directly before the audition. I'm just all right, too much. Just I get it. I appreciate the enthusiasm. But there's just too many actors for that kind of process to happen, or they'll friend me on Facebook, whatever, beforehand. I wouldn't recommend that. But try to find something to kind of attach yourself and be memorable for something special, especially if it's one of those things where it's like, you know, they're seeing a bajillion people.
Right.
And it's really just about standing out and being likable and entertaining the team.
Nice. Is there a difference for you between commercial acting and sort of regular film, TV acting, and what would those specific sort of differences be?
Totally. I think it obviously depends on the spot. Like there's times where the comedy of a spot will come from dramatic acting in an inappropriate situation, whatever it is.
Okay.
So a lot of times those are fun because it's like you finding the absolutely best, like legit dramatic actor, and that's what's hilarious. But more often than not, it's more about like there's like commercials are just so fast, right? You have 30 seconds at most typically, so it's like kind of the efficiency of the performance, if that makes sense. It's like knowing that for the most part, you know, commercials come in like 2-3 seconds tops increments. You know, each shot is so fast. So knowing how to make a performance A, as sharp as possible, and B, like not drag it on. Like I always say, like if you're doing improv for commercials, you don't want to keep improving. Just like get one line out, improv it, and like close it, like put a period on it. Because that way you know it's like an editable moment for however you want to shape the commercial. Like on set, obviously I'll be like, all right, let's do a series on this line, just give me like 5 in a row. And then we've talked about different options, and as long as they're completely different and all work for different reasons, like that's the best stuff, versus if they can't change their performance, they're just so stuck in a certain tone like that, immediately you're like, all right, this is not going to work, because there's just no time, unfortunately, on commercial sets to like massage the thing. So it's like, let's find a few vibes that we think are great and be able to understand those as an actor, and in some senses just as a creator, as a, you know, you're an actor, but as a writer of your performance, right?
Right.
And being able to understand what those 5 beats are that are funny or that work or whatever it is that you've worked with the director, and hitting those as concisely and just sharply as possible.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Oh, it makes absolute sense. Yeah, especially having done commercials like, it's, you know, like a McDonald's commercial where you have to say, I had to make this line funny, and he wanted 5 different funny ways to do it, and I'm like, okay, here we go. I'm not gonna. There's no.
And I think the good news is, like, often comedy acting, I think, is just as real as dramatic acting, or like the funniest, at least in the style that I do mostly. Great comedy acting is just dramatic acting in a silly situation.
Right. How important is learning improv to the commercial acting world?
I think it's huge for many reasons. I think overall, I mean, I always say everyone like literally every person on earth should do improv training in some sense, because it really is just tapping into reality and your own. The best improv is just honest reacting to things, and it's just it's about like getting out of your head, right? Which so many actors you can see immediately when they're like, okay, you're bad acting because you're just thinking about this way too much.
Right.
So it's like getting out of your head, listening like crazy to the other person talking, and just acting how real humans act, like pulling away all the acting and just being like real in the room and in the space, with obviously sometimes weird scenarios, right? But the best improv is, again, best improv for me is dramatic acting done amazingly. So it's not like being huge or jumping on top of someone's back and like that stuff. Sure, there's places for that, but I love just like very clean, honest scenes that happen to be comedic scenarios, right?
Well, Raul, I want to thank you so much for all the wisdom you've offered here today. It's been great having you here. And thank you all for watching. Looking forward to the next one.
Go get them.
And for our next lesson, we'll be continuing the conversation on auditioning for TV and film.